Also, Nige, look, Burton in Kendall Services. Nigella, sorry, Nigella. Codge Biker here with Nigella, the NT1100. Just give you a few thoughts on what I think after having owned the bike for 9 months. Kind of a baby in that time, can't you, Nigella? She's not answering that one. Not me and you, obviously. Anyway, I've not done as many miles on it as I'd hoped. It's been an absolutely rubbish summer. I had a few medical issues which are now all sorted, I'm glad to say. So the last part of the summer, although it's September, second week of September, I am having a road trip out, even if only for the day. So here's a few things, some thoughts about the NT1100 that have occurred to me or that I've noticed while I've been riding it, and I'll add it to it as the day goes on. Here I am on a autumn day, taking the NT1100 out for what it's designed to do. Cruise up the motorways, then go exploring. Remember, it's basically an Africa Twin Supermoto. Don't be fooled by this giant wide tank. Underneath it's more or less Africa Twin with a bit less suspension and no bash guard. Cruise control on, going at the speed limit. You can't really do much more. Look at it, it's always busy, cameras everywhere. But this bike's brilliant. I'm sitting in a bubble of calm, very warm. It's got a warm engine, more of that later. And the screen, I'm 175 centimetres, is brilliant. I've got my peaked helmet on, just trundling along. Just put my Apple CarPlay on, Android Auto. Oh yeah, I need to be leaving in half a mile. Pay attention, codger. Oh dear. It's got a very warm engine, as I say, which is probably not ideal in hot climates. I can put my cruise control on. I'm in a 50, just knock it up a little bit because I'm just under 50. This is a 50 mile an hour speed control with cameras. So as I say, we don't have autobahns in Britain. We have motorways, most of which are cameraed to the hill, and you've constantly got these sort of average speed check on it areas. So cruise control, rest your hands, knock it down a little bit, get a bit close. It is a very, very good UK travel bike, I would suggest. Not just because you've got so much protection and you can see could rain at any moment. It's the UK, big screen. Also quite a lot of presence on the motorway. I've got crash bars with spotlights on as well, which help. Videos above. Yeah, alright. Alright. One thing about the bike that I don't like on a hot day is it does give off a lot of heat from the engine. I've been speaking to people in Portugal and places like that. They've asked me, you know, is this a hot bike? Because it's burning their legs, and it is a hot bike, particularly when the fan comes on a hot day, and of course the fan's more likely to be on a hot day. But on a day like today, it's about 13 degrees with quite a strong wind. It's perfect for the UK. And it's a Honda. Android Auto, the phone's in my pocket, screen's blank, and I Bluetoothed it in, but you can use the cable or Bluetooth it via dongle. And you can see I've got 93 miles to go. It says at 1 hour 30 minutes. Looking at this, I'll be lucky, and I'll get to where I'm going, which is up north. So I like the CarPlay. You can switch between screen and your navigation or music or whatever else you want on there. I only use it for the navigation. I don't want to be using my phone when I'm riding or listening to music. It just doesn't interest me, but it's all there if you want it. So again, built into the bike, not an extra. Brilliant. You also get two panniers with it, which I haven't got at the moment. which are not an extra, they're included. So you do get an awful lot compared to other bikes. But does that make it perfect? Well, as I've already said, it's, I think, gives off a lot of heat, particularly onto your legs on a hot day. Today it's brilliant. The throttle is a bit snatchy in tour mode, not so much when I'm in 6th gear trundling as I am at the moment. I wouldn't normally do that, but I'm trying to make my fuel last a bit longer today. I'd normally be in 4th. Don't like labouring engines, but when you're in the revs it can be a bit snatchy, so I do tend to ride it a lot in rain mode or in my own user modes. I think there's 5 modes on this, 2 user and 3 urban, rain and tour. Rain doesn't reduce the power, it just makes the delivery smoother, as far as I can tell anyway. And obviously it sets the traction control and ABS for rain, but you know, it's fine for me. I'm not Marc Marquez, so I do go around left-hand corners very well, and I love riding in the rain, so you know. And I'm on a Honda, unlike him. As you can see at this, I'm getting about 60 miles to the gallon, something like that, so it's quite an economical bike if you trundle it. I mean, it's saying up to 70-80 miles to the gallon. You don't get that. That's just an average, or it's not an average, it's what I currently would get if I carried on at this much throttle at this speed, which is ridiculously slow. But there's a reason why I'm trying to make my fuel last, because I don't want to fill up before the ride I'm about to do. And the reason for that is this bike, when you fill it full of fuel, does get a bit top heavy, like the Africa Twin, and it does make a bit of a difference if you're on a bit of gnarly road. So I'm going to try and get there with like 1/3 of a tank instead of a full tank. That's the plan. May not work out, but I've got a garage in mind, so I can put like a gallon in, 5 litres if necessary, which will get me to another garage ready for coming home. I wouldn't normally bother, I just fill it up, but it's fine on roads like this. Just at slow, when you're lugging it around the driveway and things, it can feel top heavy when it's full of fuel. It's not too bad, not as bad as my old Africa Twin, but it is something to be aware of. It can catch you out. With the UK, this bike, and it has plenty of pull in it for overtaking. You won't be having any issues. It's another good thing. Also on a windy day like today, because it is quite heavy but the weight's low down, it's very stable on the motorway. So again, makes for a very good motorbike for this country. Probably not on the autobahn, because I don't think it'd be fast enough, but it's faster than you think, because underneath it all, it has got almost 1100 cc's, parallel twin. 70 miles an hour. The throttle just set. I'm getting about 60 miles to the gallon. That's an English gallon, which is bigger than American gallon. So a bit less if you're in America, probably 50, but you know, it's not bad, is it, for an 1100. And if I need to accelerate, even in 5th or 6th, it's quite happy. Put it to 6th, look, for less than 4,000 revs. Very smooth and happy to trundle along these congested roads. Control's very good on this bike, but it is stupid having it on the right hand control, because you've got to get the throttle right and press set at the same time. But once it's on, it's okay. Look, I can drop it down 1 or go up a couple, take a little break if I want to, like so. The wind is actually blowing today though, so I just rest my throttle hand. Quite a strong crosswind today, so a very useful thing to have. I'm not big on cruise control. It's not, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me, but if I've got it, I'll use it. Knock that down one, pull in, this car's good up behind me. Just, I've got new gloves on today, so I'm wearing them in, so it's quite nice just to have a couple of minutes with your throttle hand off the controls. Yeah, so the thing to mention on this bike is the protection's very good. On your legs you've got leg protectors, screen, fairing, and it's not raining at the moment, but there's a lot of spray from lorries and things, and I'm not getting any of it, so I see it on the front screen, but it's very good from that point of view, and also very good. It's very blustery today, but the bike's not moving at all. I've seen lorries swaying around in it, but I'm fine, particularly in my Scots jacket. Toasty. My NT1100, I'm feeling pretty confident today, even though the conditions aren't very good. It's 13 degrees, spitting a bit, the road's wet, but I'm feeling confident because probably about 200 miles ago I changed the stock tyres, which I wasn't overly impressed with. They seem to square off on the back very quickly. The bike said he'd done 3,000 miles. So I've had Michelin Road 6s put on and they feel great. Yeah, Michelins. They're really confidence inspiring, and of course they've got no off-road pretensions at all, but still it's nice to have some decent rubber under your bike. Metzeler's are great tyres. I just don't think the OEM ones that have been put on this bike were particularly good. Maybe I got unlucky. Anyway, behold the Lake District in the distance. Anyhow, one thing I don't like about this bike particularly is the indicators are always on. I get the idea that it's daytime running lights, but I just don't believe it. And also, you know, you do get that reflection in the air deflector. I don't know if you can see it. It's quite gloomy today, so it's not really bothering me in daylight, but at night time it can be a pain. I've seen a lot of people just put some tape over it if you do a lot of night riding, which, you know, covers it up, but it's just a bit of poor design. And although those pig's ear things work well, they're just not very good to look at. In fact, the whole front end of this bike is disappointing to look at, but it does have a presence, so like a lot of scooters, hopefully the traffic tends to see it coming. I could of course talk about the seats, but I always think that's a personal thing. Everybody's backside's different. I find this bike, I haven't got the comfort seat, I've just got the standard seat, but I have put a mesh cover on it. Cheap one, video above. I find this bike is perfectly okay for 2 hours. I mean, I've been on it now for probably well over an hour. Haven't stopped. Crossing the River Lune. Lune as in Luna. So I find it quite good. I did consider getting the comfort seat, but it's a bit expensive and it does lift you up off the ground a little bit, and I don't really need it, so I haven't bothered. I test rode a bike with the comfort seat and possibly it was a bit more comfortable. I can't say I noticed. I'd have to do a back-to-back on it, but even in the standard seat, for me, I do 2-3 hours no problem, which is a lot because I normally stop after an hour on most bikes. It's probably not an armchair, but it does the job. Being a sort of adventure bike rider rather than a road bike rider, is I also get exactly the same thing on my Interceptor. It's my hips. My hips do feel like they lock up sometimes. Less so on this bike, but what I can do is the seat is, although it's 2-tier seat, there's enough room for me to slide around on it. If I slide back, it just lifts my legs up a bit, puts my hip in a better position. I have to lean forward a little bit, but it just gives you a bit more comfort, particularly if you're doing a sort of long distance between stops. So I found that quite useful as well. As I say, depends how big your backside is. My legs, there's plenty of room to stand up meerkat style, and got 20mm bar risers on this. It's quite comfortable standing up, but it's not a bike you need to meerkat on necessarily. But Quite useful when you want to just stretch your legs. A bike like this, in fact most bikes nowadays, is because the engine is, you know, look, doing 70, it's below 4,000 revs. You don't feel like you're moving, so it's not exciting, particularly on A roads. I hate it on A roads. You just never feel like you're actually moving anywhere, it's just sitting in traffic. For those sort of roads I much prefer my Royal Enfield, because you feel like you're riding that bike. This bike can sometimes feel like it's riding you, but not in a biblical sense. This tank, it's only 20.5 litres I think, something like 20 litres, which is still plenty, and the claimed range is 400 kilometres, which is about 250 miles. I don't think that's true. You might be able to do it if you rode at 50 miles an hour in 6 all day long, and wore your engine out. I think it's closer to 200 for normal riding. I've never actually let it run out. Today will be a good test of that actually, because will have done, in a moment, I will have travelled about 100 miles, and it says I've got 149 miles left, so probably done about 80 miles actually, so you know, 230, and I am literally trundling up the motorway in 6th gear at 70 miles an hour, so I'm virtually hypermiling. So I think 200 miles to a tank, which is the best way of doing fuel calculations. Although I say this is not the most exciting bike in the world, it is on a day like today. The engine comes into its own. I love the engine on this. Quite a warm engine, as I've already said, but it's 30 degrees, so who's complaining? But you've got lots of power on tap. I mean, I'm just trundling, literally trundling along in 6 at 4,000 revs, but if I need it I can just open the throttle and go, it will pull. So it's nice just to have that power on tap, particularly when you're on motorways and things. Going uphill at the moment, there's just no worries about anything like that. I've got a quick shifter, I can drop it down 2 gears and really fly if I need to. So it's got a great engine for this job. Not overly vibey either. I don't get tingly fingers on this bike, which I used to get on the 500X till I put those thicker grips on. I forget what they're called, but you know what I mean. No, I haven't bothered on this bike, no need. But here we go, some lorries crawling up the hill. I want to go past them. Drop a gear with a quick shifter. Let's go. Don't even need to drop a gear with a quick shifter. Just do it in 6 if I want, look, up to 6. Let's go. For UK travel we've got power to burn, so economical too for an 1100 I think. Better watch out for the 5.0 though. Oh, it's coming nice now, look, told you it would. Oh, it's not the 5.0. Anyway, look at me. I'm not speeding. I'm on a Honda. And 1/4 hours, and I'm fine. So the seat, even with the mesh on it, is quite comfortable. I don't know if that makes much difference, but it stops me sliding around in my leather pants. Nobody wants to slide around in leather pants at my age. Oh, I've got to put my screen up. Forgot. Yeah. Definitely do need to put my screen up before I go anywhere else. Excellent screen, that is. Just what you want on a trip like this. Right, about to hit the motorway. He says. Side stand down. Let's go. So the time is now 2:30. Okay, should be over 4:30 in theory. All good. So far, I hope I haven't lost anything. I usually lose something on these trips. It's quite tricky changing camera batteries and things on the slopes and mountains, laybys. So let's hope everything is in the top box. I really enjoyed today, it's brilliant. Pipework sounds fantastic down these lanes. Great roads when you get away from all the traffic. These B roads are excellent. It's the A roads that are rubbish. My top tip from the Lake District: whoa, go on the B roads. Although you never know what's over the next hill. Woo! Good brakes on the NT. Roads of the Lake District, and the suspension of this bike, it's not premium, but there's plenty of it. I think there's 150mm, not as much as you'd get on the Africa Twin, but it's a road bike after all. And it's dealt with everything that's come its way today. 2 passes, 2 mountain passes, very damaged roads, B roads, motorways. So for my weight, just under 12 stone, 70 odd kilograms, I find it to be perfectly fine, and so much better than the CB500X I had. It doesn't launch you out of the seat. It's a bit dicey. That truck stinks. Now, I mentioned this bike in a hot climate, I'd imagine wouldn't be the greatest bike in the world, but in the UK on a day like today, I've got 9 degrees Celsius and a north wind. I've got my weather protection on, I've got my heated gloves on, and the bike's got built-in heated grips, come as standard. The screen's fantastic, there is no wind coming off that screen at all, and you can see my legs are tucked right in, the engine's warm, so it's a lovely bike for the UK winter and autumn. So the warmth of it, which must be a disadvantage in a hot country, is definitely an advantage in the UK. Probably 10 months of the year. 2 or 3 months in the summer, I have to have the screen down, which is a bit noisy, but it gets too hot otherwise. Hands are too hot. Heated grips and me heated gloves on. Who'd have thought that? So my automatic indicators stay on if I'm not moving. Look, you can turn those off in the menu if you want to. I mean, turn off the automatic function, but I rather like them. Turning in 700, so if I put the indicators on at that 3rd mark, look there, indicator 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks, still on, gone off again. 2nd mark is where I need to indicate with those. So that's my roundup of the NT. Very pleased with it. It's done everything I wanted it to do today. I've done every kind of road you can imagine. Front brakes are very good. I put sintered pads in the rear because I like to ride on the back brake, and that's made all the difference. Bedded in now. Yeah, one thing I wasn't impressed with on this bike particularly, it was okay, but compared to the Africa Twin, the rear brake wasn't ideal. I like a good rear brake, so I recently just changed the rear pads to sintered pads, and now they've bedded in. That's really made a difference. It's quite a tall, well, it's quite a big bike, so pulling up at the lights, it's much smoother if you've got a rear brake that you can more or less stop dead with, I find anyway. It's made it into a very good rear brake. Some people go they wear the discs out faster. I mean, really, far better to want to stop, isn't it? I can change the disc in 5 years time if they're worn out. So on that note, on my NT1100, Codger Biker is out.